Hey everybody, this is graphic designer Roberto Blake, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about whether age matters in your graphic design career or not. If you're just finding the channel for the first time, I do graphic design videos on Mondays, and I do other creative videos throughout the week to help you create awesome. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you make sure you're getting everything. So let's talk about age in graphic design. This cuts both ways. I get comments and emails from people all the time, either who feel that they're going to be marginalized because they're too young, or that they're going to be deemed irrelevant because of their advanced experience and age. So this applies to people under 25 and, oddly enough, people over 35. It's so weird, but I have seen it in the industry at play. I have a lot of friends that I've talked to about it, and ultimately, this is one of the things that I created the channel for, is to help people solve these kind of issues in their life, in their career, and in their creative development. So let's go ahead and jump right to it. We'll start with the very young. I get comments from a lot of you who are very young people, you're 15 or 16, and you want to be a graphic designer. You're asking about what schools you can go to, things you can do, programs that you can use that you can afford or that your parents can afford for you. And it's great that you, one, know about the channel, know who I am, and that you're interested in being proactive about how you start your career. And my best advice to you is don't wait for permission. Too many of you are waiting for permission because you are doing what you think you're supposed to do, or you're trying to mimic the example of older people. But remember that the generation that came before you was a generation before the internet was big, a generation before social media. When I was getting ready to start being a graphic designer, there was not YouTube to teach me. There were sites like WebMonkey and AngelFire that helped me learn HTML code for the web design side when I was starting out. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of information on the internet. It was still so new. We didn't even have Google yet to find out how to execute on graphic design, stuff to learn. Wikipedia wasn't a thing yet. So learning about this profession was a lot more difficult back then, but you have to be proactive. You have to learn everything you can before you go to college. In fact, if you want, you could just get the reading list from any college you're thinking of attending and get those books one at a time before you're even 18, before you even think of going to college. You've already done that reading material, and then I really would debate what the value would be for you, other than to go and live outside your hometown, get experience, meet new people, make networking connections for your career, but you wouldn't be going there to learn the basics. I'll say that right now. Maybe you wouldn't even go for graphic design by the time you get to college if you take the time and you invest in self-learning. Maybe you go for something, you might minor in graphic design, but you might go for something more advanced. Maybe you decide that you want to pick up something like marketing, or maybe you decide that you're interested in photography and you didn't learn that skill and you want to learn that. So maybe you go to college for that and you just audit some design classes or take them as electives, whatever. But the point is, you don't need to wait until you go to college and get a formal education to be a graphic designer. You can learn through a lot of people online who are already professionals in the industry who are competing today, like myself, because we're going to give you real world information. So that's not to say that your professors are going to give you completely irrelevant information, but they're going to give you information that comes from their experience and their point of view from when they were in the industry. There are people in the industry today sharing their knowledge of what they did to deliver for a client yesterday. So I would just say, take that for what it is. There are also online training courses like Udemy and so on and so forth. But your big barrier here is, well, how do you get over the perception that you can't offer anyone anything, or you shouldn't charge a lot of money, or whatever, you should work for free because you're just a kid? Well, I'm going to help you deal with that. Don't ever try to bargain from a position where you put your age on the table. And if someone else does it, tell them that your age has nothing to do with the quality of work and the quality of results that you produce. In fact, because you're younger and you're producing results on par with somebody who's had experience and everything like that, that means you're actually worth more because you're only going to get better. Now, you can deal with that and phrase that however you like, but that's the point you need to communicate as politely as possible, that they need to grade you and pay you based on your quality of work, not what they think a kid is worth, what they think someone who delivers this result is worth. Quality work above all else. Don't let your age be a factor. That means when you're working with clients, if you want them to take you seriously and not take your age into consideration, don't act your age. Dress appropriate to the station of your professional career level that you want to be in versus where you are in your life right then and there. Now, you might say, well, that's interesting coming from a guy who shows up on YouTube in his, hat and his plain t-shirt. But again, I've reached a level in my career where I've kind of earned the right to do that. The quality of my work and my results, speak to that already. And this isn't necessarily how I might show up to a client meeting for a larger client. So just keep that in mind. A lot of my work comes through the internet anyway, so I'm engaging with people through the phone, through Skype, through emails. Some people never hear my voice or see my face, and they just grade me purely on the results that I deliver for them, and that's the world we live in. So doing what your parents might have done is not a guarantee that you'll be successful, because the world has changed so dramatically, and you have to shift with it. If you're putting your work out on the internet and social media, again, your age shouldn't be a factor. If someone wants your work and wants the results you deliver, set your price, don't budge, and they'll either pay it or they won't. Don't let any of that stop you from producing quality results and putting your work out there. So let's move on to our older audience. For those of you who have been in the graphic design industry for 10, 15, 20 years, and you feel that you're being marginalized and deemed irrelevant in favor of kids half your age or with half of your experience, and you're pushing back against that, consider the value that you have and the value that you create. Are you truly still relevant? And I don't mean is your knowledge relevant, are your skills relevant, but are you able to deliver the kind of results that are necessary to remain competitive today, or have you stopped competing on what you can deliver and you're still competing on you're shifted into rather competing on your experience? Because experience is valuable, but it's only valuable as long as someone values it. If that's not who either your clients or your employer are valuing, if they're not valuing experience right now, or they're not weighting it as highly as they're weighting being either tech savvy or super creative or fresh or having digital skills, then you need to either shift over and shift your market to those who still value the experience and the patience and the time that you put into things, rather than needing it instant now, and needing to be super tech savvy. You need to shift your market or shift to a place in the industry that you'd be more comfortable in, or you need to change things up, evolve, and offer more value. And then if you can bring all of your experience, but also be relevant to new forms of marketing, new media, new trends in design, and be open to that instead of, fighting against that and clinging to what you've done successfully up until now, then there's absolutely no reason for you to be marginalized, because you're the best of both worlds. If you stay sharp, stay savvy, and stay in the thick of things, then these kids can't compete with you, because you already know who the people and the players in the game are. You already have the relationships established, and the value you offer is the same as what these kids are offering, but enhanced by your experience and your craftsmanship. So the question doesn't become that the industry needs to change and needs to fit you again, because that's the argument that I hear from some designers. That may not be you specifically, but some of you, and you know who you are, you're lamenting and longing for the old days, and they're not coming back. They don't. It never happens. Everybody has to learn this, or they end up like Blockbuster, they end up like Kodak. You evolve, you adapt, or you die. That's just the law of nature, that's the law of business, and that means that you either have to shift to where you're going to survive, or you're going to have to move on, or you're going to have to adapt and grow and fight and compete. Again, age is not a factor unless you make it a factor. So if you're older and you're trying to sell yourself on the value of your experience, you don't have to do that. People know that you're experienced, and you should have created a body of work, and you should be promoting and marketing yourself to the point to where everyone knows that you have the experience and what you bring to the table, so you shouldn't have to repeat yourself or sell yourself on that. What you need to do is you need to show them that you're not irrelevant, and you have to put that in the frame of context of what they think relevance is, not what you think relevance is. So just keep that in mind. And again, it's constructive criticism, so don't feel that it's an attack on you. Don't take it personally, because that's the worst thing we all do as designers, is we take things personally instead of understanding that there are opportunities to grow. Well, I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope it answered and addressed some of your questions. I know it specifically spoke to some emails that I've gotten in the past. If you still have comments or questions about age and whether it affects your career in graphic design, go ahead and leave that stuff in the comment section below. I'll answer as many of them as I possibly can. As always, you guys, thanks so much for tuning into the channel. Like this video if you like it, subscribe, check out the other awesome content. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today.